Welcome to the podcast that brings you high voltage, intriguing information, as well as electrifying conversation on all topics, current, past, and yet to be. This is Phase to Phase.
The first step in avoiding the trap is knowing of its existence.
I've been having these weird thoughts lately.
Without change, something sleeps inside us and seldom awakens.
Here are your hosts, Marcus and Drew.
Working an 8-hour shift, doing podcasts, living the dream.
Burning the midnight oil, son. Burning it on both ends. What are we gonna be talking about with the nice internet's people today?
Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum.
Awesome, dude. Yes, exactly. Skynet and the rise of the robot revolution.
Robots are taking over the world. Our world.
Hey there, sexy lady. You want to kill all humans? So, yeah, man, robots. What is a robot, Marcus? Maybe we should do some terms first, because you know how I'm fond of doing that, getting everybody on the same page. That way nobody's like, what are you talking about?
A
I don't
mindless
understand.
automaton.
Yes, basically. So a robot is just a machine, especially one programmed by a computer, capable of carrying out a task, usually complex series of actions, automatically. That's kind of the key.
Yes, automatically is the key, because otherwise it's just like an input-output machine.
Exactly.
Like a normal computer
Exactly.
or
Robots can be
calculator.
guided by like an external control device, or the control may even be embedded within like a Gundam.
Yeah, it has complex
Or a mech
programming.
warrior.
It has complex programming or some kind of method to which it can
Or
basically...
even incredibly simple programming that just kind of is repetitive.
Right.
Yes.
But
Not anymore, but
the key, like you said, is autonomy.
yes. So there's basically like three universal components of any robot, and that's the sensors, obviously for information input like cameras and microphones and rangefinders and x-rays and radar and all kinds of gizmos. The eyes and ears, basically. As well as, of course, the something called the end effectors, which is just for, the output, the limbs and tools and stuff, basically.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then finally, we have control systems, which is just for decision making, like the software or the behavioral algorithm, that works in conjunction with the sensors and the end effectors. All right. So next on our terms list, number 2. And that's an android. What exactly is an android, Marcus?
My next relationship.
Exactly. Mine too. It's just a robot with a human appearance. So basically, in my opinion, the only reason why you would build an android instead of just a regular like robot that doesn't have any kind of like human characteristics is to anthropomorphize the machine, to make you as the user or interfacer more inclined to think of this machine as a human being.
Right.
Next on the list, number 3, and that's a cyborg. What's a cyborg, Marcus?
Sort of halfway in between, right?
Exactly. It's that sweet, sweet middle ground.
A machine-augmented human.
Yes.
Or a human-augmented machine.
Cybernetic organism. And it's basically like the both organic and biomechanical body parts. Integration.
Right.
Singularity.
Organic.
Word.
Cyborg.
Cyborg. Not the wrestler chick with the giant forearms.
China?
China. You sound like Trump just now. China?
China?
That was fucking good, actually. You sounded just like a UEF or whatever.
UFC?
Octagon people. Yeah, exactly.
You said wrestler, so you threw me off.
Sorry.
That's
yeah.
okay.
She's probably not a wrestler. She's probably a fighter, I guess. Sorry.
Right.
Sorry, everybody. So next on the list, number 4, artificial intelligence or AI. What is that, Marcus?
You found my secret. Now I have to kill you.
Oh, shit. Turing was right. That's the ability for a computer program or a machine to think and learn.
It's a movie by Steven Spielberg.
Exactly.
starring,
It
Haley
was
Joel Osment
yeah, exactly. It
and Jude
was
Law.
it was a documentary, if I'm not mistaken, about prostitute robots trying to find where they come from.
My mom at the scene where like she drives into the woods and just drops him off. He's like, "Where are you going, mommy?" She's like, "She's left." She's like, "I can't watch this movie."
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
It's like, man, there's like 2 hours left.
That's like this is the beginning. Yeah, that's like a White Fang style of like what happens where you're like, look, our relationship can't exist. You understand? They won't accept us. Just go. go back into the woods. I'm an artificial intelligent like android. The woods is not my like natural home. Just go. Don't look back.
Be with your family.
Right. And the ability to think and learn for a computer program is like massive, right? As far as its significance, right? Because obviously a program is just that. It's a program. You can only
have to follow it.
A to B or whatever.
It.
Exactly. You can't say like, oh, hey, my quickest way from A to Z is this new route that I've discovered being a machine, you know?
Right.
And finally, number 5. And that's a drone. What is that, Marcus? What is a drone?
It's President Obama's bowel movements.
Yeah. And or the things he uses in order to protect his daughters. I think I heard that somewhere. Something about the Jonas Brothers. I don't remember.
It's a great album by Muse.
Yeah, it's an autonomous, pilotless machine. There's a bunch. There's the UAV, which is unmanned aerial vehicle.
UAV is online.
Oh, yeah. What was that from?
Call of Duty.
Yes, that's what I was wondering. I'm like, why does that ring a bell in my brain somewhere?
Or if you have the Snoop Dogg DLC, it's Aw Shizzle. UAV Vizzles on Lizzle.
Is that like a Alexa app that you can like everything that like it says is in Snoop Dogg like language?
Like the GPSs.
Yeah, exactly. I've added Mizilk to your fucking shizopping list. Yeah, they come in all forms. UAVs for aerial, UUVs for underwater, USVs for surface dwellers, and like I said, these things do not need any kind of informational input from a pilot. It's they're completely autonomous.
Some of them are remotely controlled, though.
No. Any drones that are... Anything that is autonomous is a drone. Anything that has a remote control user is just a fucking remote control aircraft or remote control craft.
Predators, aren't those remotely controlled?
Some
or
are.
Am I completely mistaken?
No, you can put them on like a
pilot mode, a manual mode.
Well, I was going to go the other way with it, saying you could put them on an autopilot, where they sweep a pre-programmed like area.
Right, sure, for surveillance purposes.
Yeah, and when they pick up something or whatever, they freaking they bounce the signal back or whatever. Yeah. So it's autonomous.
I'm just thinking in case of like bombings, one would hope that somebody's over there pulling the trigger.
You would fucking hope, but I mean, maybe recently they're having some people behind it or whatever. But I remember being just disgusted with the stats back in the day. I think we talked about this with the Iran episode. Obama's drone strike statistics were just horrid as far as like percentage of collateral damage. Yeah, no kidding, dude. So now we're gonna talk about kind of the funding, research, and development angle of these. Like who makes these robots?
DARPA.
Who are these people? Yeah, that's first on the list, Marcus. Very good. So yeah, usually it's like government contracts and private companies that build, just like any other weapon, creator. They, that builds rifles or tanks or planes or missiles or et cetera, or whatever. They get these lucrative government contracts. Yeah, exactly. And then, whoever can make it, get the contract. And like you'd mentioned, yeah, DARPA is basically the biggest piece of the robot pie. And of course, everybody knows that the DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. And they're basically an agency of the Department of Defense that are responsible for developing and emerging, new technologies by the military. All the cutting edge sci-fi shit DARPA makes. You may remember DARPA. They created the internet.
Yes.
And in conjunction with the CERN facility. Matter of fact, info.cern.ch was the first address of the world's first website and web server running on the Next computer, which is at the CERN facility, which I didn't know that. I didn't know that CERN had anything to do with the internet. DARPA runs on basically like black budget projects and who knows what. And then, of course, the rest of the pie is kind of divvied up between two other groups or whatever. And that's like universities and private manufacturing corporations or whatever. So like MIT, Harvard, Stanford, all these places or whatever are large areas where software and hardware developments in robotics are on the cutting edge. As well as some of the manufacturing facilities that I talked about before, like Boston Dynamics, and even like some really common things like Honda and Toyota.
Yeah.
And another company called iRobot.
Yeah.
Which was, of course, that Will Smith documentary. Exactly.
Based on Isaac Asimov's autobiography.
Right. Called Only Electric Sheep Have Stinky Farts or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. So now we know who produces these future armies of humans' enslavement, we're going to learn about kind of the different kinds of robots, and which will basically go back in our little time machine here. Diddle-a-loo, diddle-a-loo, diddle-a-loo.
Whoa.
Talk about the first ever robot. And that was something called the...
Madonna.
Yes, exactly. Well done. No, she was the first fembot, Marcus. Yes, that came afterward. This thing was called the Unimate, and it was made by Kawasaki, and it was installed on a General Motors plant. Yeah, like one mate. Or, yes, one mate.
You're telling me it was not a sex robot?
No, unfortunately. I mean, they probably developed it later to do sexual things.
With a name like that? They actually just renewed the trademark.
Right, totally. It was installed in a General Motors production plant in New Jersey back in 1961.
Oh, I bet that scared the F
out of the
some
workers.
people.
Yeah, no kidding. They're taking their jobs. And it's a 2,000-pound gigantic hydraulic welding arm that was fed by like a magnetic drum that would move things into position and then stack the metal to be welded, like a little tack welder that was on the end of an arm, basically.
Yeah.
I'm sure they could eventually, just slap some sort of toy on the end of that, and then bam, it's now a sex robot. First one ever from the 60s, just in time for the sexual revolution.
So hold on a second. All right, so robots are these things that are doing the jobs that we don't want to do, and we don't have to pay them.
Right.
So they're Mexicans.
Right. Nice.
We don't have to pay them or acknowledge their rights.
Well, acknowledge their existence. It's
so
fine.
they're Mexicans.
Totally. I like that. Well done, sir. So obviously this Unimate thing was just like an arm that swiveled around. It didn't look anything like one would think a robot would look like nowadays. If you said robot today, they would have a completely different, view or whatever. So, and getting a robot to be humanoid, either in appearance or behavior, has proven to be like exceedingly challenging.
Very difficult.
Yeah. So real quick, I guess I should have put this in terms, but what do I mean when I say humanoid, Marcus?
Having human characteristics.
Exactly. And so when I mean like physically, that means, arms, legs, bipedal fingers.
Especially the face.
Yeah, no kidding.
We've gotten pretty good at the hands, actually.
Yeah, the face is the only thing that's really tripping us out right now. And that's because we see things, especially faces, in symmetrical, to pick up symmetrical shapes and stuff like that or whatever. And so when it's not like that, and it's, the uncanny valley thing? Yeah, we're going to talk about that too. So the first full-scale humanoid robot was called the Wabat 1 by the Waseda University in Japan in 1973. And it had arms and legs and a vision system, as well as being able to pick things up and talk. Although only through, like pre-programmed automated responses, but still for its time was like super advanced or whatever. So Japan is technically first on the robot list or whatever. Exactly, which makes perfect sense or whatever, because as we all know, in order to combat Japan's unique threats of Godzilla and Mothra and, various kaijus, giant Gundam-like robots had to be invented. It was a necessity. Necessity really is the mother of all inventions, Marcus.
I don't know how they survive over there. Like their
Dude, they
capital
deal with
just keeps getting blown up. All the time.
It makes Americans look like such pussies. The things we complain about. It's like, God, get over yourself. You still have your capital city in one piece. Go. So from these, kind of humble beginnings, retrospectively, kind of laughable achievements. Yeah, it did prove that building a machine that focuses on multiple purposes is really hard. Yeah. Really hard. We're relatively good at building a machine that can do one thing, which is kind of weird to me. I thought that we had mastered that, a long time ago with the Industrial Revolution and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But turns out that's about all we can do is build a machine that could do one thing really well. Yeah. Fast forward to the 90s and the 2000s, and things start to advance, exponentially faster regarding robots.
Oh, of course. The advancements in microprocessors and memory storage.
Mm-hmm. Silicon chips and whatnot. Yeah. And so that kind of lets me open the door to the next thing that we're going to be talking about that isn't quite a robot at all, really. But I needed to throw it in there because it kind of starts at the very beginning of the robot spectrum, shall we say. Okay. And that's the Guardian XO, or powered exoskeleton. And basically... this company named Sarcos Robotics, contracted by SOCOM, which is the Special Operations Command of the military, basically contracted this 300-pound hydraulically powered $100,000 suit you know what I mean, that you basically wear. It basically helps you, like, its applications are basically endless, but like for the military, like Tom Cruise style in that Tom Cruise documentary, Edge of Tomorrow, when he's like wearing like a mech suit. And of course, the applications are pretty much endless in the warehouse and construction industry, like straight up, Sigourney Weaver in Aliens walking around with the freaking, mech suit, basically, like organizing super heavy loads. So it costs about $100,000 to, like standard issue one to a soldier.
Without the weapons on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, without the Gatling guns and the lasers and all the freaking little bombs and stuff.
Close the door. They're not supposed to see that.
Yeah, right, totally. You promised you wouldn't arm these things. It's just a test. Get rid of that guy. Basically, compared to like the $20,000 that it costs to equip a soldier today, for 5 soldiers, you can get a exoskeleton suit, basically.
Super soldier.
Yeah, exactly. So it's actually, the costs are not that monumental compared to other, weapons that I've seen. And that brings us to kind of the beginning of the precipice of the robot spectrum. And that's talking about robot animal drones. So not like the remote controlled ones, though they have those. Not like the quadcopters that you see that you can buy on Amazon or whatever. Yeah, exactly. And not those like pretty common military jets that we were just talking about. And the first one on our list is the pack mule. And to help alleviate physical weight on troops, DARPA developed this 4-legged robot called the Legged Squad Support System, or LS3. To integrate with squads of Marines or like other soldiers, the LS3 basically demonstrates that it's like highly mobile, semi-autonomous, legged robot that can carry 400 pounds of like squad gear and follow
across some pretty crazy terrain.
Yeah, through super rugged terrain and interact with the troops in like a more natural way and similar to like trained animals in real life, like with handlers and stuff.
This is a dog. This is someone you care about.
You will care.
My Call of Duty references are out of control in this episode.
The goal of the LS3 program was to develop a robot that could go through the same terrain that the squad goes through.
Right.
Without like hindering the squad's mission, obviously. The robot could also serve as like a mobile auxiliary power source to the squad. So troops could
charge their smartphones.
Recharge their batteries. Yeah, exactly. Check their Twitter, post a hilarious cat video, all the essential military operations of today. So number 2 on the list is the iRobot Warrior.
I did not murder him.
Which sounds like a fierce name for an unmanned drone. It's basically like it's basically just an unmanned robotic platform capable of carrying 500 pounds in its manipulator. And it's able to climb steps and slopes at up to 45-degree angle. And basically this thing looks like the Mars rover had a baby with Johnny Five from that fucking 90s.
Short Circuit.
Yeah, exactly.
No disassemble.
Initial intended users are, explosive ordnance disposal.
Naturally.
We saw that a lot like in SWAT teams and stuff like that in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's also used for route clearance, surveillance, enhanced security measures like scouting and reconnaissance, even casualty extraction. So this clamp can go and get like bodies off the field instead of people, so they don't have to. Firefighting, welding, pretty much anything. The iRobot has teamed up with the Australian-based R&D company called Metal Storm, which again is a badass name, to mount an electronically controlled firing system on the Warrior capable of firing up to 16 rounds per second. Basically what they're talking about is a fucking rail gun.
Yeah.
An electronically fired gun that has no like, black powder and because of that, it's completely silent and totally recoilless.
Right.
So you could put 3 rounds literally in the exact same like hole, the same grouping, I guess.
Splitting arrows.
Yes, literally, dude. Robin Hood style, son. And number 3 is man's best friend, of course, is the attack dog Spot by Boston Dynamics, or of course the Cheetah by MIT. And basically, they're just what you would expect a terrifying attack dog robot to be. Like if you've ever seen that Black Mirror episode, yeah, exactly, Nightmare Fuel. So these nimble little 70-pound robots have 360-degree vision and can traverse where wheeled robots basically cannot. They have a 90-minute replaceable rechargeable battery and has an operating temperature range from -2 degrees Fahrenheit to 104 degrees Fahrenheit.
Damn.
So it can work in really like hazardous areas. And perhaps most interestingly of all, its customizable platform allows for the attachment of like articulating arms and tools. So, you know, applications again are endless. So like, for instance, in the construction industry, progression of job sites, it can scan the whole area and make like a digital copy of it.
That's interesting.
So they can hold it in comparison to the blueprints, to see how far along you are and if you're advancing properly.
Does it come in black?
And they're going to basically use this to point out like defects and incongruities and stuff that sometimes even the human eye might not be able to pick up on. So like, for instance, like in oil and gas plants, it can use its like vision system to remotely inspect facilities as well as detect potential like safety hazards like leaks and shit like that you can't see. Exactly. All the detectable things that human beings don't have.
Yep.
And obviously, this is like an area that I kind of was not even really I didn't really think about, and that's entertainment. A lot of people can put, and not just to have them like fight like in an arena or something like Battle Bots or that awesome show. Show was dope, dude. The best one is the Chin Splitter or whatever, the one that fucking Jay Leno made that like just dominated everybody. When all it was like a big scoop on the front with his face on it. It was hilarious. So basically you could put like cameras or microphones or any other thing on the articulating arm, and now you've got like a straight up automated film crew following you around. Or
people use drones for photography. And all
exactly.
The time, so.
And then, of course, public safety, which is a euphemism for
riot control,
domination. Yeah, exactly. Using the cameras in conjunction with its like remote capabilities allows the user to assess the situation on the ground without putting people in harm's way. Obviously, like hostage situations, bomb defusal, even just regular beat patrol. Matter of fact, I'm gonna link in here
after the Eagles games.
Yeah, right, dude. Or cleaning up puke and pulling drunks off of the bench. Go home, rummy. I'm going to put in a link in the description, a story about how the Massachusetts police have actually already been using them to basically exactly what I was saying for patrol and even for, active shooter and bomb patrol and, bomb defusal and stuff like that. So it's already being integrated.
Pledge night at MIT. A bunch of nerds at MIT with the cameras sneaking it into the sorority party.
Right, dude? Like having the little robotic dog like go in there with like its little articulating arm, right? Totally. Good.
Come sleep with me.
Good. Yes. Now in the bedroom. Very good. Come on, Snuffles. Move in there. I want Snuffles to sleep in my room. Yes. Fight over me. Battery powering down. Damn it, Winston. I told you to change that out or whatever. I'm sorry. I just got excited. And so finally, number 4 on the list is something called the Black Hornet Nano, which again, they have super cool names, these companies or whatever. I think that's part of the appeal where they're like,
that's how they want the contract.
Help us build these things that are going to enslave humanity. You're like, no, why would I do that? You're like, what? Our company's name is Metal Storm. If you're going to throw a lot of money at me and I have a cool name tag that says that I work at a place called Metal Storm, I guess I could sell out all of humanity for you. So basically these are like micro military unmanned UAVs, right? The unmanned aerial vehicles, and
the swarm.
They're patrolled for real, bro. They're deployed by like this company called Proxy Dynamics, and they're a Norwegian tech company. The unit measures around 4 by 1 inches, and it provides troops with on the ground like local situational awareness. So you basically pull these things out of a little pouch in your arm or whatever, and you freaking throw them around and fly around, and they're just these tiny little like dragonfly shaped drones basically that can give you freaking, a better situational awareness on the ground. And they're small enough that they can fit like in the palm of your hand, and they weigh like 16 grams, including the battery.
Great.
So it's nothing. Yeah. The UAV is equipped with 3 cameras, one looking forward, one looking straight down, and one pointed at like a 45-degree angle, which gives the operator full motion view and of course like still images. And it's fitted with like all the gizmos, like night vision capabilities, that has like that's connected via like a digital data link with a 1 mile range. So they have crazy range too. And an operator can be trained to operate these Black Hornets in as little as 20 minutes. So they're super user friendly, and I'm sure they just plug into like an Xbox One controller. Yeah, exactly. On your iPhone. Yeah, no shit, dude, for real. Like I'm probably not even kidding. Like, so the Black Hornets package contains 2 helicopters, and since a 90% charge is reached in like 20 to 25 minutes, which is like the same as like as hovering time, as idle time. One basically just needs to recharge it in that amount of time. So like when it's flying around and hovering or whatever, you could be recharging the other one and it's ready to go in, 20 minutes basically. And it has like a top speed of like 11 miles per hour, which is not bad. as the bird flies. DARPA has developed its own version of, they made their own versions of this called nano air vehicles called the Nano Hummingbird. And now we're going to talk about the android models because, I mean, let's be real, that's the only type of robot that anybody cares about. Exactly, right? I came for the exoskeleton, but I stayed for the androids.
And then I came for the androids.
And then I came again for the androids. Someone pass me a towel. So number 1 on our list is the Honda Osmo. Hey there, Osmo.
Osmo needs to sleep. So they're eating the toothpaste.
Right.
Dude.
Oh my God. Oh,
so
Jesus Christ.
Osmo.
Hey,
you just got to stick the suppository in my butthole.
Yeah.
Wait.
What? Oh, just go on and do it. No big deal.
Are you by chance a pleasure
I was
model?
just going to make that joke, right?
That's the best part of the episode.
Man, he came up with over 3,000 fucking new movies or whatever. 900, yeah, exactly. Yeah, 2,000 of which considered fucking Adam Sandler. So development of the Honda Osmo began...
Will you stop calling it Osmo? I know it's tempting.
Osmo sounds way cooler. No, you're right, though. It is the
Probably
Osmo.
where they got the name from.
Yeah, right? No kidding. Basically, Honda began developing humanoid robotics back in the 1980s, including several prototypes that preceded the Osmo. And it was the company's goal to create a walking robot. The E0 was the first bipedal, which means it swings both ways, right, Marcus?
Mm-hmm.
The first two-legged model produced as part of the Honda E series, not the E Honda series from Street Fighter. Anyway, which was an early experimental line of like self-regulating humanoid walking robots with wireless movements, created between like 86 and 93. And this was basically followed by the Honda P series of like the robotics production, which came from 93 to 97. And this research basically made the E and the P series kind of led into the creation of what is ASIMO today. I guess apparently ASIMO is an acronym, which stands for the Advanced Step in Innovation Mobility. And also, I guess the Japanese word asi also stands for leg and mo for mobility. So it's like leg mobility. This isn't a very creative name, I have to admit, especially for a country as creative as Japan. Swing and a miss there, Japan. So basically it walks, it runs, it jumps, it kicks balls, it demonstrates, distance and power gauging.
It slices, it dices.
It makes French fries in 7 different... It can traverse stairs, perform service tasks like waiting tables and carrying trays, which I guess is really important for the robotic community, so it can take all our jobs. Again, demonstrating the ability to carry liquids without spilling, which I guess is pretty important. So ASIMO's form kind of, it stands like 4 foot 3 inches tall and weighs just under 120 pounds. So it's like a little person, maybe a little on the thin side for, what most people find attractive, but, research conducted by Honda found that the ideal weight for a mobility-assisted robot was between 4 feet and the height of the average adult, which in Japan is only about 5 feet. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, that's kind of like who's average? Because you think it'd be between 4 and like 6.5 feet, but that, it really depends, And obviously they want it that size because it needs to interact with things that already exist, like light switches, doorknobs, things like that, right?
Yeah.
Which kind of led me, while I was doing this research, to have a kind of a revelation about how robots will look. And it's kind of inevitable that all robot technology will eventually have a human form. Yes, dude, because the world has already been built for humans, dude. True. So why would you build a whole infrastructure that's for robots? In reality, you would build robots to plug in with the infrastructure that exists already, right? So in order to operate everything, they need bipedal, they need to have fingers, they need to have arms and legs that articulate the same way we do. Yeah. Otherwise, it's going to be pointless. Be able to use our tools, be able to use our infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. ASIMO is powered by a rechargeable 51-volt lithium-ion battery with an operating time of about an hour. So nothing really too special there. The computer that controls the ASIMO's movements is housed in the robot's waist area, giggity, and can be controlled by a PC, wireless controller, or voice commands. You know what I mean? That's where all of my freaking, all of my controls are in the kind of the waist area, basically. ASIMO has the ability to recognize moving objects, postures, gestures, and its surrounding environment, sounds and faces, which enables it to interact with other humans. The robot can then detect the movements of multiple objects by using like visual information captured by like the 2 cameras that it has in its eyes. inside the head, and is also determines distance and direction, obviously. The robot interprets voice commands and human gestures, enabling it to recognize when a handshake is offered or when like a person waves or points, or and its ability to distinguish between voices and other sounds allows it to identify its companions. Asimo is also able to respond, to its name and recognizes sounds associated with like falling objects and collisions, so it can detect like danger, presumably.
But can it run Crisis?
God damn it. Asimo responds to questions by nodding or providing a verbal answer in different languages and can recognize approximately 10 different faces and address them by name. Which, again, doesn't really sound like a lot, but
that's about twice as much
really
as
hard.
I can do.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Totally. Without my phone, I'm useless. There are front and rear ultrasonic sensors to sense like obstacles. Front sensor is located at the lower portion of the torso together with the ground sensor, and then the rear sensor is located at the bottom of like the backpack. So it basically has
junk in the trunk.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. And so the next
advancement in Android technology.
Exactly. That's on our list here. Is called the Atlas. And this is kind of the last one we're going to be talking about as far as androids are concerned, because this is kind of the pinnacle so far that we know of. I picked Asimo and talked about him a bunch so that we could kind of juxtapose the Atlas, which is far more superior.
But what about the CyberLife AX400?
Did you just make that up?
No, I did.
Oh, is that real?
It's from Detroit.
Oh.
Not the city.
I was going to say.
Video game.
God damn it, I feel so lost here. So the design and development of the Atlas, it was basically a production that was overseen by the NYPD. Not the agency.
Oh, great.
Not the an agency that was inside the Department of Defense in cooperation with Boston Dynamics, not like the New York Police Department. So it's kind of strangely unique. One of the robots' hands was developed by Sandia National Laboratories, while the other was developed by the advanced tech company iRobot, which again is Will Smith's company.
Mm-hmm.
Atlas is equipped with 2 vision systems, a laser rangefinder and a stereo camera, both controlled by an off-board computer, and has hands with fine motor skills capabilities, and its limbs possess a total of 28 degrees of freedom, which I guess is a lot. Atlas can navigate rough terrain and climb independently using its arms and legs. Atlas can withstand being hit by projectiles and can balance on one leg. I think I remember that video that I think I might have sent to you or whatever, where it shows him performing things that are like akin to like gymnastics, where basically it's demonstrating its ability to perform handstands, somersaults, like flips and rotations, all like with like fluid succession. Yeah.
Great.
Right. Terrifying. And everyone's like looking around with these big smiles on their faces. And I'm just like, what are you guys doing, dude?
So this is Atlas. Where's Peabody?
Yeah, right. In 2014, Atlas robots programmed by 6 different teams competed in the DARPA Robotics Challenge. Basically, the government gave a bunch of financial incentive. Yeah, exactly. To like struggling, hungry nerds to build weapons of the future for the military. And to test the robot's ability to perform various tasks, including getting in and out of vehicles, driving them, opening doors, using power tools.
Shooting guns. Handling trays.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not spilling drinks, not spilling the deadly anthrax that it's carrying. What? Nothing. A variety of other robots also competed. The contest was inspired by the 2011 Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster and carries a $2 million prize for the winning team. So
when does Skynet?
Yeah, exactly. Basically, that Japanese company that literally called themselves Skynet.
Yeah, that's not
fucking idiots.
taste.
Like, what is wrong with you? We didn't see that movie. I don't understand. Skynet just sounds so fucking cool.
You guys took all the other cool robot names.
Yeah, for real, right? Like, for some reason, they don't like this one. Let's pick it up. The applications for the Atlas is basically intended to aid in emergency services like search and rescue operations and performing tasks such as like shutting off valves, opening doors, operating power tools and equipment in various environments where human beings basically could just not work or even survive. Nuclear reactors, disaster zones, even the wilderness. And the Department of Defense basically stated in 2013 that it had no interest in using the robot for offensive or defensive warfare. Yeah,
absolutely
fucking
not.
Right. In 2015 DARPA competition of robotics, the Atlas was able to complete all 8 tasks as follows, which was number 1, drive a utility vehicle at the site. Number 2, travel dismounted across rubble. Number 3, remove debris blocking an entryway. 4, open a door and enter a building. 5, climb an industrial ladder and traverse an industrial walkway. 6, use a tool to break through a concrete panel. 7, locate and close a valve near a leaking pipe. And 8, connect a fire hose to the standpipe and turn on a valve. So it
And
sounds
number
like
9, pass the Turing test.
right, totally. That's the one that's going to come later, right? So it sounds like they basically just, with all the like things that they wanted it to do, is to basically do all the functions of a human being as far as being called out to a job site, going to the job site, arriving, getting to the location that you needed to be at, carrying the right tools, traversing the intricate walkways. Yeah, exactly.
Minutes.
Hanging out, smoking down like 2 cigarettes before you even get started, bullshitting about your boss, scratch your ass, go into the bathroom or whatever, write some obscenities on the wall, take a 2-hour shit on the clock. And then after it's done eating its robot
on the
lunch.
one chick on the job site.
Yeah, for real. Hey there, baby. Do you want to see a real man? Yeah, dude, and just like do his fucking like mandatory union coffee break, and then after all of that, go and actually turn off the leaky valve and fucking connect the water hose. So the next section we're going to be discussing here is so we've already kind of talked about some of the hardware regarding like the robots themselves, and now we're going to talk about the essential other key component, the software, the thing that gets the robot to act the way you want it. And so obviously the first thing we're going to be talking about is AI. Which, as you mentioned, was that Haley Joel Osment documentary. AI is like a rapidly growing field of technology with like potentially significant implications for national security. As such, the U.S. Department of Defense, or the DoD, and other nations as well are developing AI applications for just a huge range of military functions, which is crazy because like everyone warns us about this. You know, like literally everybody.
It could be terrible. And it could be great.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure.
It'll definitely be terrible. Oh, yeah. That's exactly what fucking Elon Musk said, right? So, yeah, exactly. Dude, all these deep thinkers like Stephen Hawking and like Sam Harris to like the industrial titans that you just mentioned, like Elon Musk and Bill Gates. Every fucking buddy is basically saying to watch out for this. You know what I mean? Maybe take the foot off the accelerator collectively, but also the things you can get for it is just too, everybody's fucking doing it. Even big like leaders are talking about it. Like there's a Vladimir Putin video that's out there where he's discussing the next Cold War we're already in, and it's not a race to develop better or more nuclear weapons. It's to develop AI first, because the first person that gets that is going to have a tremendous advantage over anybody else.
Most definitely. I wonder if we should throw in, like, make a sort of a distinction, because people use the term AI when really what they're talking about more accurately is machine learning. Again, I'll preface this, I'm not an expert, I'm not even a programmer, but machine learning is you feed a bunch of data into what is essentially an algorithm, and you tell it, hey, look for a pattern, or figure out a way to do this better or something like that. Using that, it will give you a result that taken from the data set to whatever you ask it to do, like either like generate a sentence or, give me an average.
You can perceive the outcome of what it's going to be because, it's been pre-programmed, where I'm assuming with AI, you don't necessarily know where.
AI is basically fake sentience. Like it's its own thing. It can quote unquote
simply think
freely.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the most basic of our definitions.
Yeah. So, machine learning is used in all kinds of things, from like retexturing things and like doing like things like content aware fill in Photoshop and like,
social media algorithms.
Right. It's not just input
it.
and output executing whatever you tell it to.
Right.
It's basically, for lack of a better term, thinking for itself. Right.
In the sense that like it doesn't necessarily take the path that you have like laid out for it, whatever that may be.
Yeah. Like Urkel. Like that Google Assistant thing that I showed you a while ago. You feed it a whole lot of human speech, and then it kind of tries to mimic that.
Right.
You remember that thing where it's
think so.
I'm pretty sure we talked about it in an old episode. Where it's like calling up restaurants like, do you have anything for 8:30 for 2 people? It's all software. You remember that?
I don't remember that. No. What episode was that?
I don't know. I think we went off on a tangent. I was like, I remember.
We never go off on tangents in this show, Marcus. That's how I know you're lying.
We are hardliners.
Stick right to it, never deviate.
Straight and narrow.
And so whenever we're talking about AI, it always seemed like, at least for people like you and me when we were growing up, it always kind of seemed like a distant sci-fi movie, like, but AI definitely exists right now. And the first example that I can think of is, of course, Sophia. She is a social humanoid robot developed by the Hong Kong-based Hanson Robotics Company and was activated on the 14th of February of 2016, which, of course, is Valentine's Day, just in time for all those nerds with their freaking lab jackets on to get busy with Sophia here. I'm sure that didn't happen. It's a crass joke. It's terrible. I'm terrible. She made her first public appearance in the South by Southwest Festival that's in Austin, Texas. And she's able to display more than 60 facial expressions. And Sophia uses voice recognition technology from Alphabet Incorporated, which, of course, is the parent company of Google. Yep. And is designed to get smarter over time. So that's good. The AI program analyzes conversations and extracts data that allows it to improve its responses in the future. So It gets better.
Just like Siri and Alexa.
Yeah. The information is then shared on the cloud network, which allows the input and responses to be analyzed with like blockchain technology. So it's connected to the internet. So it's the internet is the pool of information from which it is drawing from. Yeah?
I mean, that didn't turn out too great for Ultron.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Or also the next AI. The other interesting thing about Sophia is that she is covered by the media around the globe and has participated in a lot of like high profile interviews. And specifically in October of 2017, Sophia became Saudi Arabia's first. She became a citizen of fucking Saudi Arabia, dude. The first robot to receive citizenship of any country. But it didn't just receive citizenship, it received personhood, which is an insanely different distinction, dude, which is going to kind of pave the way for another conversation we're going to be having here in a second regarding sentience and rights. And
in America, corporations are considered people.
Yeah, no kidding, dude, right? Well, that doesn't need to be changed immediately. And so number 2 here on our list that I was mentioning.
I think I know what it is. Is it Cleverbot? Do you ever play with Cleverbot?
No.
Okay, so if you go to Cleverbot, it's a website.
Okay.
You can ask it questions.
Okay.
And it will respond to you.
Okay.
It will carry on a conversation with you.
Like, I just keep talking to this fucking thing?
Yeah.
Do people ever try to get it to self-actualize that it's a robot? Like, to realize that it's...
people try.
To define love and, like, use philosophy to
double negatives.
Turing fucking explode it. So, number 2, that's Tay. Sweet Tay. No, Tay is an artificial intelligence chatterbox, which is just the voice-to-text tech that's used also by Sophia.
Oh.
That was originally released by the Microsoft Corporation via Twitter.
Oh.
You remember this? Back in 2016?
I think so.
Well, it kind of caused subsequent controversy when the bot began to post inflammatory and offensive tweets through its Twitter account, causing Microsoft to shut it down after only 15 hours of being like, alive.
Hey man, it was just taking what it was given.
Yeah, no, exactly. According to Microsoft, this was caused by trolls who, like, quote, attacked the service as the bot made replies based on the interactions with people on Twitter.
Exactly. It just disseminates the kind of speech that we normally use.
Yeah, Twitter's a cesspool of shit, basically. So it basically was just pumping a bunch of that.
Yeah.
And so it was soon replaced.
It was made in the image of its
creators. Yeah, right. Because it wasn't doing so well or whatever, they soon replaced it with Zoe, which was like the successor of Tay, which was pulled off 16 hours after its conception. No, I'm totally kidding. That's actually a joke. I didn't fucking. But basically, it is a running joke of like, hey, are they going to connect this back to Twitter? And they're like, yeah, we're still talking about that, which means no, there's no fucking way we're going to connect that back to Twitter.
Yeah. Twitter is not. If you're really going to grab a source of human speech, Twitter's not
the fucking thing. Yeah, no
anyway.
Kidding, dude. Right?
I mean, first of all, you have a character limit. Then you have people who are just like spouting off about whatever.
It's the same shit that we were talking about to have like extremist engagement, like what we're talking about with the Facebook and YouTube algorithms and stuff or whatever. That basically they feed you things that are going to most likely have you engage, and the things that are most likely engage, are things that piss you off, right? And, all the software talk wouldn't be complete without talking about Neuralink. Which, of course, is the corporation that, it's an American, like, neurotech company that was founded by the alien Elon Musk. And
America's favorite alien.
It's basically developing, like, implantable brain-to-machine interface.
Yes.
It has like a sewing machine-like device that's capable of implanting super thin threads into the brain, creating a system that reads information, for instance, in this case, like from a lab rat via 1,500 electrodes. Experiments with neuroprosthesis can interpret brain signals and allow disabled people to control their prosthetic like arms and limbs and shit, dude. Musk aims to link the technology with the implants that, instead of actuating movement, can interface at like a broadband speed with other types of external software and gadgets and stuff. They have technology that preceded this that used eye tracking to basically the thing that you're looking at now is like your mouse pad and your eyes, your mouse or whatever. And so instead of having to say like this thing, that thing, you just move your eye to the little button.
Yeah. If this is not making sense to you, dear listener, imagine like, going from a mouse to a touchscreen. Instead of having to drag your mouse over and clicking what you want, you just poke it because it's right there. It's
like significantly more user-friendly.
It's an order of magnitude faster.
Yes.
And more intuitive,
accurate and everything. Yes, like it's leaps and bounds, everything better.
Right. So instead of having to actually move your finger to the screen, you're just looking at it and it opens up. You
so
just
like
think,
instantaneous. Yes.
Right.
And now it's going to be done with the power, like the speed of thought.
Exactly.
Musk explains that the long-term goal is to achieve, quote, symbiosis with artificial intelligence, which is just another word for transhumanism. It's an international philosophical movement that advocates for the transformation of the human species and the human condition by developing sophisticated technologies to greatly enhance human intellect and physiology.
Now,
Cyborgs.
I don't know where we want to throw this in, but I feel like it's a good point because AI is pretty scary for a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think that the way we can avoid robocalypse is to merge with the technology.
Yeah, totally. If you can't fight them, if you can't beat them, join them.
And
I guess we could only join
consciousnesses
up to the up on the stream, man. They were all just swimming in the stream, bro. You know what I mean? Just like bodily, vesselless, freaking consciousnesses.
All right, here we go. Ready?
Okay, so check it out.
Do you ever think that the essence that we all like connected to is just a cloud?
It's like an internet, man. You know like. Yes. Absolutely.
Like, especially if we're a simulation, like the collective consciousness or the essence or whatever you want to call it.
So as I'm editing this, at this point, Drew and I go off on quite a tangent. So I'm just going to skip ahead here, if you don't mind.
You programmed me to be efficient and save the planet, and you're the problem with the planet, honestly.
Dude, the iRobot fucking thing where it comes to the final realization of like, well, yeah, I'm killing and enslaving, a couple of thousand here and there, but really, under my tutelage, yeah.
I guess that wasn't far enough ahead. Sorry, let's try that again.
What were we talking about?
I'm good. Yeah.
Merging AI.
Yeah. Oh, no, we're off of that, so it's good. Yeah. We beat
kinda...
that to fucking death, so that's fine.
All right.
So we've already kind of discussed like niche markets of robots, like, obviously the police and the battlefield and things like that. But now we're going to go kind of talk in kind of like a generalized area, talk about like jobs in the economy. Data from the McKinsey Global Institute shows that by the year 2030, which is kind of coming up here in 10 years. And if you're there already, hi in the future. Is it terrible? Is there a shortage of chairs? That by 2030, automation could take away up to 30% of the job that workers do right now. A total of 800 million jobs in 10 years are going to be fucking gone, according to the McKinsey Global Institute. So
what you're saying is we're about to have some goobacks coming in.
Yeah, hard. You goddamn goobacks. So, of course, like we said, we talked about like soldiers, police, fire, medical rescue, the hero jobs. But now we're going to talk about a different kind of hero. Truck drivers, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
The heroes of the road, if I'm not mistaken.
Fucking backbone of this country.
For real, dude. University of Pennsylvania estimates that 294,000 long-haul trucking jobs will be lost to autonomous vehicle technology in the next 25 years. So around 300,000 jobs gone in 25 years of just truckers. Now moving on to cab drivers. Because all self-driving vehicles will be safer than humans and be able to run continuously, they'll likely replace many jobs that drivers have right now.
Yeah, they don't have to adhere to DOT rules.
Yeah, none of that stuff, dude. And insurance will be way cheaper, too, for automated cars because they're going to be, once they become safer, because they're insanely not safe right now, then it'll be actually it'll be harder for human drivers to be able to pay this, presumably exorbitantly high insurance rates compared to the automated ones.
Once they get all the humans off the road and they just network them together.
For fucking real, dude.
Okay.
Terrifying. In fact, autonomous vehicles could eliminate 300,000 jobs in these industries each year once self-driving cars reach their saturation point, according to Goldman Sachs.
That's pretty terrifying.
Yeah. And, delivery drivers and, fast food like, Uber Eats and Grubhub and even kiosks at restaurants are now completely automated.
Yeah, man. Have you been to McDonald's recently?
Yes, dude. I don't want to use those things. I do not fucking. I actually haven't been to Taco Bell in
Taco
years,
Bell
dude.
The same thing. Yeah.
Do they really?
Yep.
It's the way the wind's blowing.
Yeah.
And of course, manufacturing jobs. That's a huge one. Manufacturing and warehousing, like Amazon, which has more than like 100,000 robots working in its warehouse, helping humans pick and sort and maintain inventory. And of course, lawyers, loan officers, which is of course the legal term for loan shark. So I guess a robot shows up and breaks your fucking knees now if you don't pay it back.
The robot mafia.
Right. Give them the clamps. These clamps right here. And of course, retail, call centers, and the hotel industry. They have these little R2D2 looking robots now that deliver your food or your remote because the TV remote wasn't working or whatever. And super creepy. And that moves into like another portion of this robot phenomenon, taking their jabs, and that's newscasters. So computer generated articles designed to grab the eye, AI generated clickbait, basically.
Yeah.
What deepfakes do for video, these tools basically do for like news stories, which is nothing new except that they can generate it hyper fast. And also the AI learns and gets exponentially more effective and harder to like spot that it's an AI program writing this article, which is lame because it's like the double bluff. Which is, this could be used as an excuse if real video surfaces of like nefarious things. You know what I mean? Which you could be like, oh, well, that's just photoshopped or whatever, or vice versa. You're like, oh, watch this thing that happened. And really it's 100% fake.
That'll be great for all the people who deny terrible things that have happened in history.
Word, totally. What did it happen after 2016? It's a deep fake. Sorry. So the Chinese news agency, Xinhua. I don't know. I don't speak fucking Mandarin, but it's basically it's a mouthpiece for the Chinese government, and it has the first ever completely digitally generated person.
Of course it would be China. It's either China or North Korea.
Yeah, no kidding, right? China, North Korea, or Japan. Smart sons of bitches. Knock it off over there.
I don't know if Japan would spin it as hard as China or North Korea.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? No kidding.
They'd
have the technology. Yeah, exactly. They have the technological capability. Yeah, no kidding. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
And then China's like, what we could do with that? Pump a bunch of propaganda out. And that kind of leads me to that concept that we were just talking about very briefly in the very beginning of the whole concept of having a completely generated person. And did you get that trailer for that movie, that Al Pacino movie that I sent you? It's called Sim 1 or Simone.
I don't remember you sending me that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I almost want to send it to you. But basically, it's an Al Pacino movie where this like soon to be washed up like producer or director guy or whatever, played by Al Pacino, meets up with this tech nerd who offers him this experimental software that he created that nobody else knows about, where it can generate a
fake person,
basically. Yeah, exactly. That can interact and talk and have its own, pre-recorded responses and things like that. Basically, he creates a fake celebrity that he is like the handler of, and it calls it Simone, Simulation 1, Sim 1, Simone.
Right. Simone
Way. And basically it becomes like just a huge A-list celebrity and everybody loves it. And, but nobody knows that it's not real. He does clever little things to kind of be like, he hires like a model to put a coat over her head or whatever while they run her out into like a limousine and they snap a bunch of pictures and be like, is this Simone? Was that her running from the opera last night or whatever? But they never will get a real picture. Everything's digitally like fucked with and stuff like that. And then it basically takes on a life of its own.
That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah. And he kind of can't like control the cult of personality that's now built up around all this like hubbub about her and stuff, and it's really interesting. It was like in the 90s that they made this movie. And I'm
Really?
like, yeah,
I
dude.
thought you were talking about something that's coming
No,
out.
this was like 20 years old, bro. This is from like the 90s, I
that's
think, or
very-
even
very-
maybe the really early 2000s.
Very prophetic.
Yeah, exactly. And furthermore, almost all sports columns nowadays are AI generated because they have they're heavy on stats, which are far easier to program,
Yeah,
which I
instead
thought
of
was
somebody typing the
insane.
same kind of thing over
and over
just-
again. You just have a robot do it. Again, taking our jibs. Even the medical industry isn't immune. Everything from transporting patients and administering drugs to making a diagnosis and even performing surgeries. Of course, not to mention all the clerical and bookkeeping work that would obviously fall right into that. Back in 2016, robots helped in more than 750,000 operations. A team of Harvard pathologists recently used AI to help them diagnose breast cancer in patients and found that their accuracy increased from 96 to 99.5%.
Yeah.
All with the help of AI. And this small increase means that between 68, because, I first read that and I'm like, 96% to 99.5, like whoop-de-doo. Like 96 is still pretty goddamn good, right?
Yeah.
That's still an A, if I remember my schooling correctly.
Yeah, but if you're that 3% that gets a false
Yeah, no kidding.
diagnosis-
That's everything to you, right?
Exactly.
And so that's basically what it was saying, is that the increase is between 68,000 and 130,000 more women could potentially receive, more accurate diagnoses each year. And of course, most importantly, last but not least, the industry that would basically, suffer at the hands of the robot uprising, of course, would be the prostitution industry.
Oh, here we go.
Robo hookers.
This is what you really came for,
My
isn't it?
favorite kind of hookers. So enter Harmony, stripper name. This is a hyper-realistic sex doll that is fully customizable, both physically and behaviorally. It can speak and make facial expressions and can basically be programmed through an app on your phone. And because of this, controversy has developed, of course, pertaining to the ethics of, relationships with property, as Kathleen Richardson, professor of ethics and culture of robots at the De Montfort University and founder of the Campaign Against Sex Robots.
That's a cool title.
Yeah, I know. No kidding, right? Professor of ethics and culture of robots. That's pretty dope. This campaign has two fronts. One, to bring about the discussion regarding the idea that human beings can replace significant relationships in their lives with machines.
They already do.
Yeah, no kidding. To their phone. As well as draw attention in the way in which women and girls are going to be objectified through robotics and AI. And now we kind of briefly talked about this when you were talking about that avatar soloist chick. That brings about the question of, this interaction with people that it's going to be having. Is it going to be eventually, on a long enough timeline, going to have a negative effect the way human beings interact with each other? Because if they're so used to interacting with this machine that looks human,
Yeah.
like we were saying, you don't have to treat it with respect. You don't have to,
Nope.
and it does whatever you want it to.
Yep.
You don't have to work on the relationship. You don't have to learn patience. You just, Siri, silence. And, the eventuality of that kind of, continuous separating behavior, I think, is really, unhealthy.
I mean, I'm not anti-porn in the
No, me
sense
neither.
of,
But I also understand the argument, I guess. You know what I mean?
But what I'm saying is this will only further, I just worry that this will only further the divide that people have and the disconnect that they have.
Well, I feel like that is kind of natural in the progression. As things progress to the fucking nth degree of whatever it is, I feel like the further you progress on that timeline, the deeper your opinions about that become, whether it's one side or the other. Because if you just kind of scratch the surface on some sort of information that you're talking about, your opinion is not going to be that well thought out, more than likely. But the further you go down into the minutia of this completely new, way of thinking or whatever, people are going to have much more fractionalized opinions.
And even taking it away from a sexual standpoint, you have what looks like a person and is totally obedient to you. What is that called? As another word for that is slavery.
Slavery, which we're going to be talking about here right now, actually. Robots are kind of becoming increasingly more mainstream, as we were just talking about. We grew up on robots. Every blockbuster movie of our generation was just wrought with robots, from Terminator to The Matrix and every subtle and not so subtle knockoff in between. Even stand-up comedian Whitney Cummings did a media campaign with an interactive robot that looks exactly like her to promote her special and that kind of thing. And so anyway, when I was a kid, I had like a philosophical question of what it is meant to be alive presented to me through a TV series.
Okay.
And that was Star Trek: The Next Generation. There's an episode in the second season called The Measure of a Man. And basically, it's where Data, who is the artificial being on board the Enterprise, has to prove that he's not just a machine, that he's not just an android, but like a living sentient being. Because this cyberneticist that works for the Federation wants to like shut him down, deconstruct him, recreate his positronic brain in order to better understand and ultimately reproduce on like a larger scale. So that like every ship in Starfleet would have like a Data on board who's, capable of doing, millions of actions per second and has this 64 quadrillion bit fucking memory, bank. Data's refusal to undergo the dangerous procedure sets off a trial to determine if he has even the right to do that because he's with Starfleet, right? It's like a military organization. Property. He's literally fucking property, dude. He signed a Starfleet contract or whatever. It's like a lot of people in the military, they know, they literally own you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of archetypal philosophy 101 questions get explored in this episode, specifically like the nature of intelligence, free will, and consciousness. Because as it turns out, proving one's sentience to somebody else is a very difficult thing to do, as it turns out, because consciousness is exceedingly difficult to articulate without using synonyms to describe it, like self-awareness, free will, intelligence, ego, et cetera, right?
It's highly personal.
They all mean the same thing. Yeah, exactly. So in the court scene, it's great. Basically, he's quoted saying like, what if Data meets the third of your criteria, consciousness, in even the slightest way? What is he then? Do you know? I don't fucking know. Like, I liken that concept a lot actually to this like genetic whackery that we're doing in the genetic field, where basically we're creating like genetic chimeras. Mm-hmm. Freaking goats spliced with like spider genes and weird shit like that, and then fucking with humans. It's like if you were to do that and you were to splice any of that shit in there, are they still human? Yeah. Because they have a gene that's different or whatever. Or, what if it's 51% of the genes that are fucked with or whatever? Are you still human? Like, and if so, what's
all kind of bioethics? That's
what I'm saying. What's the threshold? And do they have the same rights as us? And if so, why not? And if not, why not? Like. And again, this is I say this to the kids all the time, dude. And that's that, the type of problems and like hot button topics that you guys are going to have to fucking deal with in the future are going to make like gun control and abortion look just like quaint, bro. Yeah. Just like, oh, remember when that's all we had to worry about?
Can't we go back to those days?
For real, dude, which is hilarious to me right now because of the amount of like social like ire that's going on right now, or a political ire rather that's going on right now.
Yeah, it's the same thing with androids or even clones.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's why you need to watch the fucking second renaissance of the Animatrix, you son of a bitch, because they bring up this whole thing of like, if something truly is alive, even in the slightest way by how our standards are, we can't hide behind a comfortable euphemism of property. You know what I mean? It's proven time and again that that's not a good, that's not a good thing. In addition, the episode takes the argument one step further when Picard realizes like the greater ramifications of the court ruling that will speak to the future, right? Because it sets precedents. Exactly. So he makes a plea to the judge and he says, someday this scientist or others like him will succeed in replicating Data. And when that happens, the decision you make here today will determine how we regard this creation of our genius. It will reveal what kind of people we are and what he is destined to become. Ramifications reaching far beyond this courtroom and this one android. It could significantly redefine the boundaries of personal liberty and freedom, expanding them for some, savagely curtailing them for others.
Damn.
Right? And he's fucking spot on. And so robots aren't just invading our pop culture, but also our politics too. Former Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang had a huge part of his platform talking about automation awareness. He's also the guy that is a proponent of universal basic income, or the freedom dividend, as he calls it, which is a great euphemism. In addition, Jane Kim, a San Francisco mayoral candidate, is a proponent of a statewide robot tax This tax will, quote, help smooth the transition for our workers, providing them with better opportunities, end quote. However,
like a workplace replacement type of thing?
Kind of. They basically, and I've heard Tucker Carlson also mentioned that he would be up for putting restrictions on the free market if it involved curtailing automation. Specifically truck driving and shit like that. Yeah, it's super
Coming
bizarre.
from somebody like Tucker Carlson.
It's a very non-conservative view or whatever, and a lot of people think that that's a mistake for various reasons and stuff.
Sure.
I think his fear is at least warranted. Now, I'd like to see a lot of data regarding like, hey, what happens if we put a cap on this, put a cap on that? Because a lot of people also think that, harkening back to the jobs and economy section that we were just talking about, robots and automation will actually create a lot of jobs.
It does.
Which of course it will. Yeah. Obviously, it's about proportionality, right?
Right.
We'd like to create more than we destroy.
Yeah. I mean, we stopped having, carriage drivers. We started having taxi drivers.
Right. Totally.
I hate to oversimplify the metaphor.
No,
like that,
totally. But you're right. We can't really stop progress. You know what I mean? And I mean, I guess you can if you're kind of blindly following yourself into the future without really thinking about anything. Like, again, harkening back to what I was just saying about like genetic manipulation of like life or whatever, like, is that progress? Clone us out of fucking existence or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, so I can understand if some people want to like maybe just let up on the accelerator, not hit the brake, but just let up on the fucking accelerator. How about
let's coast for a little bit,
just for a little bit till we fucking get our head, feet on the ground.
I was good with coasting with like 2007.
Me
like,
too, bro. Just coast it for another 10 years at least, and then we'll pick up afterward.
We've gone too far now.
Way too, it's too far. We can't go. Can't go back. Not too far. However, others think that Kim wants a state tax on efficiency and innovation. What we were just saying earlier. One born uniquely by California companies, because San Francisco Bay Area is the mech capital, the mech capital of tech of the world, and central ground for disruptive technology, dude. And the last thing these companies should do is to be punished for their entrepreneurial brilliance, is what a lot of people are saying. And so that's just robots. The moral dilemma surrounding AI is far worse, because the stakes are much, much, much higher. Worldwide spending on AI has increased from $12 billion in 2017 to $60 billion in 2021 by 2021. Right. Yeah. So we're again, what Putin was quoted saying is artificial intelligence is the future, not only for Russia, but for all of humankind. And whoever becomes the leader in this sphere will become the ruler of the world.
Great.
And that's a dude coming from a guy who grew up in the fucking KGB and knows where all the fucking international bodies are buried.
Need a new arms race.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. We're literally in the new Cold War. That's awesome. Isn't that good? So as we look toward the future and notice that robots will become increasingly more commonplace, so much so that the line between living and artificial is already beginning to be blurred. So enter the Xenobot. Remember that, Marcus?
I was wondering if you were going to talk about that.
Yeah, the self-healing microbot that are designed and programmed by a computer and built from the ground up using biological cells, like it's pieced together like a fucking Lego. The biological machine is under 1 millimeter wide. It's a straight-up living nanobot. And they're made of like stem cells that are harvested from frog embryos, like that documentary Jurassic Park. Xenobots can walk and swim. Finds a way. These little Xenobots can walk and swim and survive for weeks without food, and it can work together in groups and can heal on their own and keep working. So they can like separate off into little groups and heal each other while the other groups keep working.
Like Loco Roco.
Fuck is that?
Video game.
No, what a Loco Moco is. They're delicious. Scientists creating this living machine so that, one day it might be able to safely deliver drugs inside the human body, and as well as pave the way for understanding how to form organisms and, regenerative medicines. So the applications of these Xenobots is, like all robots and stuff, basically endless. It could potentially be used to clean up radioactive waste, collect microplastics in the oceans, carry medicine into the human bodies, or travel to human arteries and, remove like plaque or like foreign objects or something.
And that all sounds great.
Yeah, right?
As long as it doesn't get weaponized.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah, I'm sure it already is.
Sorry.
DARPA. Sorry. Xenobots can survive in just like the gnarliest of all environments without additional nutrients for weeks, thus making them suitable for internal administration of medicines. And while I was thinking about this, dude, I had the realization of like the military applications of this thing.
Exactly.
Think of just like the concepts of like regulation of like adrenal glands and serotonin
Super soldier
to
type
fight
stuff.
fatigue. Yes, dude. Or even administer penicillin to like fight infections.
Yeah.
Or even, just a dash of PCP for fucking super soldier strength. And
Administering.
it made me think of basically Metal Gear Solid with the nanites or the nanobots or whatever was inside of him, kind of regulating his body. And whenever he got like shot or something, they would all rush to the trauma location to help, mitigate the wound.
Yep.
I'm like, that's genius, dude. That's so cool. So yeah, a lot of crazy things that we talked about there. The Ted Kaczynski was a really misunderstood dude. And I understood why,
Whoa,
because
don't blowing things up, dude.
no, exactly right. No, exactly right. No, he didn't. I don't agree with what he did. But his analysis of the future and our dependence on technology is fucking spot on, dude. And maybe Elon Musk is right, dude. The only way because we're gonna be so different. Yeah, dude. We're so diametrically opposed that we can't both coexist in the same place at the same time. And so we might have to kind of hedge our bets and make allies of our techno enemies.
Well, I for one welcome our
new robot overlords.
It's amazing what you'll find face to face.
Do you enjoy the show and want to help it grow? Don't hesitate. Like, share, and donate.
As long as people are experimenting with mind-altering drugs while at the same time expanding their sexual precarities in a completely consequence-free environment, I'll be sound as a pound. That's the best fucking thing ever, right? Oh, as long as all this shit's happening where it's like a completely utopian society and there's zero fucking consequences, you will not hear two peeps out of me, sir. Whilst at the same time expanding their minds with fucking mind-altering drugs. That's probably one of my favorite lines of that movie, dude. It's so great. All right, I get it. I have bad teeth. No, Austin. All right, I'll sign this, but just to keep things moving, you understand.
I'm not dead, but I'm hurt.
Very badly burned. And like he's like waiting, like, okay, is it safe? Okay, anyway, like I was saying, hello, please. Sorry, just hold on 1 second. Yeah, he's downstairs. Exactly. No, burned. Badly. Right, like, oh, he's down there? Yes, sir. Okay. And he's dead? And you want me to... Oh, no, he's alive. Oh, okay.
Oh, thank God you're here.
You shot me!
You shot me
Right in the arm! He's just like... And he's up there just like, I cannot get good help. I cannot fucking get good help, dude. My machine doesn't work. The guy doesn't die. The guy's coming in to shoot the guy doesn't fuck... I fucking give up, dude. I fucking give up. Come on, folks. I'm the boss. Need the info.
Oh, brilliant. Oh.
All right, fuck it. You know what? Let's just hijack a whole bunch of nuclear weapons and hold the goddamn world for hostage. Okay. Moving on.
Absolute genius.
Yeah, the first one was the best, obviously, and then they were just like, "Wow, that was a good idea. Pump that fucking idea full of more money."
Hey, but we did get Heather Graham in the sequel, so I can't
Oh my god,
complain.
she was so fucking hot, dude. Jesus Christ. Those pants are skin tight. How do you get into them? You can start by buying me a drink.
Right?
It's like, damn. Damn, girl.
Smooth.
I know, right, dude? And I would be fucking totally like taken off guard if a chick was that
right.
you'd be like,
It's like Quagmire. Okay.
yeah, right? Yeah! Just throws his arms up and his clothes just come off. Giggity goo.
We're going way off.
I know. I don't care. I'm having so much fun. I love you, dog. This is great.
What were we talking about?
I'm good. Yeah.
Merging AI.
Yeah. Well, no, we're off of that, so
think
it's
we're
good.
done with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
we're
beat
kinda...
that to fucking death, so that's fine.
All right.